Hey guys, and welcome to another watch review video. I'm gonna again do another one which is kind of a brand overview. I've owned a number of these Gruppo Gamma watches, and at the moment I've got 3 here, so I thought I'd do a little bit of a brand overview, my experience with the company, or the watches more to speak, in terms of quality, specifications, what I like, dislike about them. At the moment we have 2 Vanguards, different finishes, and then I'm also wearing this Peacemaker. Over time I've owned 5 total, including these 3. Got rid of another Peacemaker last week and instantly regretted it, so I got this one back in, and absolutely love it. And I'll talk a little bit about, you know, the form factor, aesthetics, build quality, specifications, and again, like I said, what I like and dislike about the watches themselves. I'll save you a bit of time and suggest that the dislike list is not very long at all. Love this brand, love the watches, very unique. But without further ado, let's get stuck in. We'll sit and look at these individually, do a bit of a comparison, and then I'll do an individual review for each of them separately. So this is the original one that I got, the Gruppo Gamma Vanguard. Now this is the up-to-date model. You do get another model which is a little bit more simple around the case, a little bit more bland on the dial, actually very similar to the Peacemaker on the dial, except maybe even not as rich and deep in the color department. But this is the sort of more up-to-date one. They do have it online. It's available for pre-order at the moment for $7.99. I think retail's $9.50. Honestly, the build quality and the materials are such that I think $9.50 is perfectly adequate. It's one of those brands you're not thinking, you know, MSRP $9.50 is probably worth $2.50. It's nothing like that whatsoever. The build quality on these is just honestly out of this world. You can see here we've got the bronze finish with these kind of rugged, kind of industrial looking inserts, like the stainless steel insert here. We've got the screw bolt pins for the bands, which I think is very cool, very high end, you know, type of thing you would get on Oris and so on. Chunky kind of look. Let's just deal with the Vanguard for now, and I'll show you the other Vanguard, and then we'll move on to the Peacemaker. So this particular one is the AN17, I believe. It just, basically there's 4 different models, and it dictates whether it's bronze and what color, bronze or not, and what color the dial is. So this one is the AN17. It is bronze, as you can see. It's got a kind of sunburst green dial, which I'm not sure comes out great in this video, but it's a little bit more pronounced in terms of the sunburst effect. But as you can see, very industrial look, very heavy duty, aggressive look. Just, you know, beautiful bronze, as you can see. This one I did return patina from it, so it's nice and shiny. I just prefer it that way. But of course, you know, up to yourself. It is going to patina over time. Diameter then it's a 44mm case, so it's on the larger side, certainly for me. The one thing that makes it too big for me, not necessarily the dial, because I've got other 44mm cases like the Alpina here. But the thing that kind of pushes this beyond what I can wear, unfortunately, is the lug length. It's pretty big. It's 54mm lug length. So it does tend to extend over my wrist when I'm wearing it. I'll just pop it on. You can see what I mean by that. While we're talking about that, then it's 13.5mm thick, so not excessive. A nice thickness, you know. Actually less, I believe, than my Oceaniva, which I just did a review for. Of course, it's 42, so you kind of get the balance of thickness and diameter there a little bit, but 13.5 here. Good thickness. If it was just a little bit smaller, the lugs were a little bit smaller, I feel like it would work for me. But either way, water resistance 200 meters, nothing spectacular, nor would you expect it to be, because I don't think you would necessarily use this in that regard. The movements on these are excellent. ETA 2824-2, so 25 joule high beat movement, 28.8 beats per hour. Says accurate to plus minus 30 seconds per day. Power reserve 38 hours. You know, kind of what you would expect, certainly out of that ETA 2824. But in terms of the specifications, that's really all that you need to worry about at the minute. It's got a solid case back on this, so I'll show you the difference between this and say the Peacemaker. This, just before I kind of unveil this is one of my favorite solid case backs out there. I'm a big sucker for display case backs, as you may know if you watch other videos of mine, but this one blew me away. In fact, this was actually the reason that I got the watch to begin with. Look at that. I think that is so badass. Just the skull and the rose, that Gruppo Gamma logo. I just think it's exceptional looking. Really, again, aggressive, carries that kind of styling through from the rest of the watch, all those industrial kind of elements. But just beautiful brushed stainless steel, those big chunky screws there for the case back. Just matches in really well with the overall styling. The bezel itself, it's a unidirectional rotating bezel. I don't know what utility it really has if you were, you know, for instance, diving or whatever. I think it's more an aesthetic thing, but it just has these 3 notches on it for grip, which is a little bit awkward because you're never quite at the right point when you're turning it. Now, it's not particularly hard to turn when you do get a grip, but if you don't get onto one of these latches, it's very kind of difficult to move in different scenarios. So that would be one little tiny complaint. Not a complaint because it's not designed to necessarily be, you know, a kind of tool watch, but the bezel is just beautiful, you know, with that bronze, especially with the sheen on it. The dial is lovely, the 00, you've got the markers around there. You'll notice that the 15, 45 and 6 are identical, so it kind of creates that horizontal line at all points. Vanguard 200mm, Gruppo Gamma up there. We've got that kind of muted red second hand sweeping around there. You can just see how smooth that movement is on this particular model. So that is the AN17, the bronze with green dial. Again, like I said, at the moment it is available for pre-order again, $750 or so. Realistically, I would imagine you'd want to pay maybe $600 for these watches. $650 would be perfectly adequate. If you really like them and you like them, like I do, for, you know, particularly this Peacemaker, $750 is well within the realm. Certainly you get the amount of build quality and value and the movement that would kind of rise up to that kind of level. So we'll put those aside and I'll show you the kit for now. I'll show you the other Vanguard I have and you can see a slightly different finish, and then I'll show you the Peacemaker as well because it's slightly different in a number of different ways. So these are the kits you get. They're kind of canvas, semi-hard shell kits. They're fine, pretty adequate. I'll put the other one over there for a second. They just come like this. So you fold over, you get the warranty card in there, open up, and that's how, well, this isn't how they're displayed. I was messing around with it earlier, but this is kind of how they're displayed. Now, some of them seem to come just with one band. Others come with 2, like the Peacemaker that I got. This particular one, I actually swapped it around a little bit. So this is an aftermarket strap. This actually came with the Peacemaker, but I preferred this kind of really soft leather on the Peacemaker at the moment. So I kind of swapped them a little bit. The kits that you will get will not be exactly like this. You normally get the soft leather with this particular one. This particular one is the AV16 if you're looking online. This is no longer available at the moment. It says sold out on their website. I don't know whether they're going to relaunch it or anything like that. Design and case wise, it's identical to the other, except that the insert then is like this. I don't know whether it's bronze or brass or whatever, but you just see that nice contrast there. This is almost like an antiqued kind of look. It's a little bit mottled and matte in finish. You do also get the AG16 instead of the AV16, which is what this is. It is polished, so you'll get more of kind of the sheen that you get off the AN16 with the bronze in the stainless steel if you opt for the AG16. This one's the AV16. So same case back and everything, except it's just kind of grey on grey with kind of white accents. This is an aftermarket strap. This is actually a very kind of soft, almost Horween leather style. This is one of the canvas styles that you get, very similar to this one on the Vanguard, as you can see. Big lug width there. It's 24 mil, which is pretty chunky as you can imagine, but it suits these watches down to a T. Absolutely perfectly chosen for that in that respect. I won't go too much into the other Vanguard. The build quality is exactly the same. It's just down to yourself which finish you prefer. I kind of prefer the bronze, but this one is pretty cool as well. So that is that. Those are the specs. That's kind of what I like about that. Unfortunately, this is just a little bit too long in the lug department, I find, for my wrist, even at 44. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to get rid of it. It's a sad day, but we do have the Peacemaker, so let's move on to that. So this particular Peacemaker is the PN17. Now, in contrast, you'll see the difference. The dial is very similar in so much as the markers and the numbers are that kind of sandwich effect. Which is slightly different, actually, now that I'm noticing, slightly different on this compared to this. You'll see there the markers, instead of the numbers at the 12, 3, 6, and 9, on the bronze, you actually have a slightly different dial configuration. Neither of these are kind of sandwich dials, unlike the Peacemaker. That's one of the distinguishing factors. But they're very beautiful, and the lume is crazy. Just to go back to this, I'll pop up a lume shot for both of these. It kind of instantly charges and is pretty blinding. You know, it's a really, really good lume across the board on these. Like I said, the Peacemaker then, slightly different, not a rotating dial. I did return the patina on this, so it's nice and shiny again, just prefer it that way. Much more simple case design. You know, you don't have the industrial inserts, you've got a much more kind of elegant case design. Nice stamp on the crown as well. Then close up, you've got that sandwich dial. You'll notice on this as well, the dome on this with that anti-reflective coating is much more pronounced. And kind of high impact than you find on the Vanguards. You know, it's much more, it is a sapphire crystal on both, but this is a much more subtle curve, much more subtle dome, as you can see, but beautiful. Works really well with this particular design, which is a little bit kind of flatter in feel. It just kind of creates that nice smooth curve across the watch itself. This particular one then is the one I love, actually, having owned a number of them. Peacemaker I thought I wouldn't like, but I do actually really love it, and the crystal is one of the huge selling points for me on this particular model. Now, case size is the same, 44. The lug length, though, 52, is just ever so slightly less than the Vanguard. I just find it works a little bit easier on my wrist. Height then as well, 11.5, so a little bit thinner, albeit I don't feel you really notice it because the Vanguard proportions are very well placed, and you know, the 11.5 to 13.5 doesn't really make a big jump up. On all the models, you've got screw lock crowns, water resistance 200, same movement, the ETA 2824-2, so it's all the same stuff, high beat 28.8 thousand beats per hour, plus minus 30 seconds a day, 38-hour power reserve. The one thing that, and again, I love the badass, you know, case back on this boy. I should just leave this out, I keep pulling it out. Love that case back, but like I said, I'm a big sucker for open display case backs, and I genuinely cannot think of a better one than this. Look at that. It is just, I mean, it's out of this world. The depth in that movement, the way they've kind of contrasted the bronzy insert, the information around the edge. You've got that kind of polished edge where you get all the text, and then the brushed, and then that movement. Man, isn't that gorgeous? and then the branding on the rotor and everything. It's just, it's out of this world. It's genuinely one of my favorite ever case backs, if not my favorite case back, now that I've kind of got it back in possession. So what I love about the Peacemaker is because it's got the same movement, roughly the same proportions, 44, a little bit thinner without the bezel and so on. I just love the polish effect on this. I love the sapphire, the domed sapphire with the anti-reflective coating. So you get that lovely blue. Basically at all angles, there's an element of that blue coming through in the sapphire, which I think is just incredible. You've got the sandwich dial there as well, which I'm a big fan of. Hand kit on this is very different from the second kit is very different on this from the Vanguard, but the second hand, I just love that thin element on the Peacemaker. The hour and minutes are identical. And then, of course, you can see roughly the markers are the same as well. The difference between the two being the sandwich dial versus just the kind of, I don't want to say flat. There is a slight raise in the markers, and around the edge, then around the indices, you have these little dimples that kind of run around the edge as well, which I think is cool. But for me, having owned so many of both, this is the one that I keep coming back to, just for those reasons. You know, size-wise, it works better on my wrist. I love that domed sapphire. It's got the same great movement, open display back as well. If you have a bigger wrist, you're probably gonna love the Vanguard even more. But I'm a big fan of this particular watch. It's pushing the boundaries of what I can wear, but I love the finish, the fit and finish, the quality of everything on these watches is genuinely exceptional. I feel they're not a brand who is, you know, pushing their MSRP up. If I could get this watch and, you know, I really wanted it, I would be happy spending $950 for them. They really are fantastic watches. I haven't had any issues. I know a few people, buddies of mine who have owned a few, and they had a Peacemaker one who had to send back, but they fixed it and sent it back, and hasn't had any issues since. But the build quality, the movement, the materials are of course top notch, what you would expect, and I'm a huge fan. So just to kind of recap, the Vanguard then, this particular one, the old design of that I believe was introduced about 6 years ago, 2014. They introduced then the Peacemaker 2017, but they've since updated this Vanguard for these designs, you know, those lovely inserts, the more aggressive styling than previously. So these are the types of Vanguards you're going to get, I assume, from now on. But yeah, so that's my kind of review of the brand, the different models that you can get, the similarities, differences, and a few of the things I like and dislike. Like I said at the start, I dislike very few features on these watches. The only thing really that I could complain about is maybe the grip on the bezels, and the length of the lugs on the 44mm. This is just kind of pushed beyond what I really can wear without it looking a bit awkward. But again, that's not really I can't complain about that. That's just the way they've built the watch, and it suits many people perfectly. So there you go. That's my kind of overview of the Gruppo Gamma brand and a few of the different models within. Hopefully it was of help. Please make sure you hit that like button for me and hit the subscribe button and notification bell if you haven't already. I can keep you posted with all the new stuff coming to the channel. And meantime, guys, thanks as always for watching. Take care. See you soon.